Hey, what's up everyone? Hope you're doing good, because if you've ever loved Final Fantasy VII Remake, this update is one of those changes that really shifts how the entire game can feel depending on how you choose to play it. Square Enix quietly dropped Update 1.004, and while it doesn't rewrite the story or add new chapters, it absolutely changes the way progression, combat, and accessibility work across the whole experience. At its core, this update is about options. A lot of players love Final Fantasy VII Remake for its hybrid combat system, the way it blends real-time action with tactical decision-making, managing ATB gauges, MP usage, materia setups, and timing your limits just right. But not everyone wants to constantly manage resources or worry about whether a tough boss fight is going to drain all their items. This patch introduces what Square Enix calls Streamlined Progression, and that name really says everything. It's basically a powerful assist-style setting designed for players who want to experience the story, characters, and world without friction. Once this option is enabled, the game changes dramatically. Your characters maintain full HP and MP, which means healing spells, abilities, and survivability stop being a concern entirely. ATB gauges refill extremely quickly, limits charge up almost instantly, and attacks can be boosted to deal the maximum 9,999 damage. It's essentially a mode where combat becomes more about movement and spectacle than survival or strategy. Enemies still appear, fights still happen, but the pressure is removed and the pacing becomes much faster. What's interesting is that this isn't forced on anyone. The update doesn't remove the original difficulty balance or alter the default experience unless you choose to turn these features on. Players who enjoy classic, normal, or hard modes can keep playing exactly as they always have. This is an optional layer, and that's important because it shows Square Enix is aiming for inclusivity rather than replacement. If you're someone who's replaying the game for the story, or maybe introducing it to someone new who finds action RPG systems overwhelming, this mode can completely change how approachable the game feels. Beyond streamlined progression, the patch also includes a collection of general stability improvements and bug fixes. These aren't flashy changes, but they matter. Reports mention smoother performance in certain areas, fewer minor glitches during combat encounters, and overall refinements that make the experience feel more polished. These kinds of updates usually fly under the radar, but they're the reason the game continues to feel solid years after release, especially as it rolls out to additional platforms. Another thing worth noting is how this update lines up with the game's expansion to more systems. The timing makes it clear that Square Enix wanted Final Fantasy VII Remake to be as accessible as possible for new audiences jumping in for the first time. When a game this story-driven reaches new players, lowering barriers is a smart move. Some people want a challenge, others just want to experience Cloud's journey, hear the music, and spend time with these characters without hitting difficulty walls. There's also a ripple effect here for replay value. Longtime fans who've already beaten the game multiple times now have a way to replay it almost like a cinematic run. You can breeze through encounters, focus on exploration, dialogue, and world-building details you may have missed before. It almost turns the game into a playable movie, if that's what you're in the mood for. And that flexibility is something more single-player games are starting to embrace. Of course, not everyone is thrilled about this kind of feature. Some players feel that options like max damage and unlimited resources can dilute the identity of a game built around careful combat design. Others worry about how it might affect things like achievements or personal challenge. But again, because it's optional, it doesn't really take anything away from players who prefer the original balance. It simply adds another way to engage with the game. At the end of the day, this update feels less like a traditional patch and more like a philosophy statement. Square Enix is saying that Final Fantasy VII Remake isn't just for one type of player. Whether you want a demanding action RPG, a relaxed story-focused experience, or something in between, the game now gives you more control over how that journey unfolds. And for a title built on nostalgia, emotion, and iconic moments, that kind of flexibility can only help it reach more people. So whether you're coming back for another run, playing for the first time, or just curious about how much you can customize your experience now, this update quietly makes Final Fantasy VII Remake one of the most adaptable entries in the series so far, without losing the heart of what made it special in the first place.